So everything that you need to achieve what you want to achieve is inside of you already, right? All the strength that you need is inside of you. So
Yeah.
yes, it might seem like it's a challenge, and yes, you might not know the first step, but just remember that first step is already inside of you. So all you got to do is
Mm-hmm.
just make that first step.
Welcome to another episode of Becoming Consciousness with Sharika. My name is Sharika Swaby. I'm also known as the Mind Reset Strategist. I am a certified life coach, a mentor, author, a speaker, and of course, the host of this show. Today, I have a very excellent young man with me here, and he has quite the resume. He is as a graduate of the University of Technology and huh, let's see, where should I take this? And also the University of the West Indies. He has a degree in business administration, and he also have a bachelor's degree in administrative management, right? He is a member of the Information Systems Audit and Control Association. He's a certified information system auditor. He has worked with the Early Childhood Commission. He has worked with the National Heart Trust, with the Heart Trust NTA. But he's also been very creative. And as a part of that creativity, he's been in, what do you call this now? He was 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022 Couples Choice Award winner for Wedding Wire, right? And he has a studio in Crossroads, Kingston. Please welcome to the show, Christopher Colyard.
Well, wow, thanks for that introduction, and thank you for having me here on the show.
It's a pleasure having you. And people, that was only a summary, right? There is so much here that I couldn't quite put it all together. To just to make the process a little shorter. So, Chris, I met you once in person when we did a photo shoot at your studio,
Yeah.
and my assessment would be that you're a very pleasant person, and I am curious as to the making of Christopher Colyard. So, where was Christopher born? Where did you grow up? What was childhood like for you?
All right, cool. Well, I was born in Kingston, but I grew up in Maypen, Clarendon. I
Okay.
attended mineralized primary, and then eventually I went to Clarendon College, which is where I spent my high school years. And I would say the formative kind of getting to know, the real Chris Collard was kind of made at CC during that time span, that 12 to 16, 17 age.
Okay. What was the highlight of your high school days?
The highlight of my high school days, well, um, I think Saturdays, right? I used to love doing technical drawing, and a lot of my
Okay.
friends would come over on
Mm,
Saturday when my mom was leaving to go to her grand aunt, no, her aunt's house to like take care of her on Saturdays. So we'd have the house to ourselves. So every Saturday we'd
okay.
kind of have this bond where we'd do TD early, watch some movies, and then after this, create havoc in the community.
Is that good kind of havoc or bad kind of havoc?
The good kind, the good
Okay, the
kind
good kind.
from our perspective, maybe from everybody else's perspective, it might be the bad kind.
Okay. Was were there any particular struggles that you had during your primary and high school years?
All right. So let me. I don't want to say it was like a struggle, but what I would
Mm-hmm.
say is that growing up, well, I grew up with both my parents, my mom and my dad. They're married for over 50 years right now, right?
Wow.
So it's like kind of, insane that, they've been together for so long. But the key thing, what I would say that kind of instilled with me in kind of growing up was kind of working with my dad. My dad owned a bakery, and I grew up working in the bakery. So every morning before going to school and after school, I would just kind of spend a few hours there in the bakery with him and just kind of learning, just watching him, and just kind of being just sucking up everything that he did there.
Okay. So that means you're a very efficient baker then.
Yeah, I have a little bit of baking. I'm not as elite as my dad. He's like an elite baker. I'm like baby
Okay.
entry level baker. There you go.
Okay, cool. All right. So after Clarendon College, what happened?
Well, after Clarendon College, I think one of the best things that happened to me is that I learned how to fail, right? So doing my CXCs, it wasn't really like the best, CXC resume. So
Mm-hmm.
the option was either go back to high school for one more year or go to community college, and I opted to go to community college. And
Okay.
during that time at Knox, it was like the first time kind of having to travel far away from home to go to school, and I wasted a lot of time, right? A lot of time, right? Just wasting, haggling with the guys, trying to, chase a girl or two. But when you get that result and you say, hey, say, with a passionate subject, it's like it kind of shocked me, to kind of say, yo, you need to kind of focus. So after that local, time span, right, we just kind of buckled down and then just said, you know what, I have three subjects already. I need to get two more so I can at least get into college. And then I got the two subjects, and then I was able to apply to Michael. And that's when I went to Michael. And then I said, yo, I don't like that failure feeling. So let's just kind of come up with a plan or something so I can just, tread water and make it to the end. So I think that year of kind of the struggle, it kind of helped me to when I actually went to Michael, and then when I went to UTech, it definitely helped me. And then that's when everything kind of like took off academically.
Learning to fail.
Yeah.
Why do you think you did not take that as a negative instead? Because in many cases, failure, when people fail, they tend to fail more because they see it as like it's kind of like a something. They label themselves as a failure. Why didn't you label yourself as a failure?
Well, all right. So I guess maybe the key thing is that my parents encourage me. You can do anything you want to do. So I've always had
Mm-hmm.
the mindset that even in a whole negative or how bad the situation has been, you can always push and overcome. So I just always just took that mindset. Say, all right, cool. Well, all right, I feel them subject, I feel a course, but there's still a chance. There's still a way to kind of push forward. So there's a little bit of self determination, self motivation to say, all right, cool, you can just push, and just make it happen.
I like that. We need more parents like yours. All right. So now you are at Michael. What happened next?
All right, so from Michael, it's a 3 year program, it's a diploma program, and I'm pretty pumped about being a teacher and like just going out and just kind of, educating. But in my final year and in final year teaching practice, this little second form boy punched me over, and I couldn't punch him back because I'm on teaching practice. So if I punch him back, then it automatically fail. So it kind of
Mm-hmm.
made me start to reconsider, do I want to actually be like a teacher? And then I was so talking to my sister, and she said, hey, why not just apply to UTech? And I was like, all right, that actually makes sense. So I applied, I got in, and then, I decided that I was going to just, do the program. So I actually spent 3 plus 4 years of like, tertiary education between Michael and UTech, just going to school.
Cool. Very nice. So and that's when you got which you went to UTech, so that's when
Yes,
you got your
the BBA.
information systems degree.
Yeah, so all right. So when you were doing the intro, there was like a slight like mistake. So I went to Michael and I got a diploma in education. Then I went to
Mm-hmm.
UTech and I got a bachelor's of business administration. And then I went to
Okay.
UE, and then that's where I did the master's in information systems management.
Okay. Okay. Got it. My bad. My
Yeah,
apologies.
that's fine.
Okay. So, all right. So you got the bachelor in business administration at UTech. So
Yeah.
what made you go back and do management information systems?
Well, I was always a IT person. I always loved technology, and then it just happened that my first job was actually working in an IT department. So I'm around computers, I'm around people who are trained in the area. So I was like, all right, you know what, this could actually be a place for me to go and just kind of grow. So it was just kind of natural to say, all right, let's just apply to this program and then just do it. So I applied, got in, started the program, and yeah, that was kind of that phase.
And you weren't deterred by the length of time that the this whole going to school and getting a degree and then going back to get another degree. You weren't deterred by the
No,
amount
no,
of time that that would take.
no, I wasn't deterred. A matter of fact, people used to say, "You love school every minute I go to school," and right? But for me, I just kind of looked at it as, well, it's going to help me in the future to take a step forward in the direction that I want to
Right.
go. So I was like, I knew what I wanted, and I just kind of worked towards kind of achieving it.
Mm-hmm. So now, what were some of the challenges that you had to overcome going to school, just being a student?
All right, so I guess there are three types of challenges, right? So, at Michael, I'm just kind of learning just to kind of be serious, just kind of not being like a low achiever. How can I be a high achiever, right? So, just kind of forming study habits, right? And that's where I kind of learned like, hey, you know what? You have to kind of have a structure, have a little routine. So, that 2018 to 22 age bracket, that's kind of where I learned that, hey, you need some form of rhythm, some form of routine. And then when I was at UTech, I would say the main struggle was maybe, um, all right, baseline A or baseline C plus, B minus, how you convert that into an A, how you convert that into an A plus. And then that's kind of where you realize that's where the hard work, the dedication kind of come in, where it's not good enough just to take up the book and just say, all right, cool, let's read a paragraph, additional research. So, and, coming up with examples. So that's kind of what that struggle was, what was there. And then at UA, I'm working now, how you balance work and school at the same time. You go work, 9 to 5, and then you're at school 6 to 9. Like how you kind of, when you rest, when you actually get to kind of this, process stuff. So there are different challenges at different stages of the game.
All right. So now you have two degrees,
Yeah.
two different areas. How did you end up being a lecturer?
Okay, well, all right. That one is pretty straightforward. So a big thing that I kind of looked at was kind of strategically. I said, you know what? I want to kind of network with persons. So as a student, I always at UTech, I always kind of got involved in certain extracurricular activities. Any little thing that people needed me to do, I would volunteer to do that. So when I was doing my master's, I would just, liaise with my lecturers and say, hey, this is what I'm doing now. I'm working at this company. I'm doing this program and so forth. So as soon as I was done, it was a pretty seamless transition where, they called me and said, hey, you want to come like a few hours part time, and I was like, yeah, why not? Let's do it.
So from there, you ended up. So now you lecture part time still or full time?
Yeah, full time.
Full time. Okay, cool. Now that is the more general education side of you. About your creative side now, when did you
Yeah.
get
Hmm.
into photography?
All right.
When,
So the
mhm.
year. All right. No, finish the question. When did I get into
No, no,
photography?
no. When did you get into photography? Yeah, that's what
All
that's the
right.
question.
So the year is 2013. At this point, I'm kind of like mentally, I'm in not the greatest place, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot happening in my life, and I felt as if I needed like a hobby, or a pastime to just kind of help me, help me
Right.
to, just to cope. So
Mm-hmm.
I saw a camera. I decided I was going to save some money. I actually took out a loan because I realized that the saving doesn't take too long. So I took out a loan and I bought this Canon 60D. And I would just walk up and down, walk downtown, drive past a church, see people inside, stop, jumping at the going at the people. I'm trying to take two pictures. I just anywhere that there was an opportunity to shoot, I would just go there and shoot, and then that's kind of how I kind of honed in and kind of developed my skill set as a photographer. So the start was really in 2013 when I decided I needed a hobby, and then step by step I realized that I really loved this thing, and it was really something that
Mm-hmm.
I felt really passionate about.
What was the refining process like for you?
All right, so the refining process in terms of like just kind of developing it was really all right. Let's buy some books, let's watch some videos, and just practice, right? So as I said, I would walk with my camera to work every day,
Mm-hmm.
and no matter what the subject was, what was happening, I would just kind of stop. I remember I have this photo, right? I wish I had it printed so I could just show you guys where I'm driving. The guy's like scaling some fish, and there's like a hundred birds just hovering over his head. And I remember just
Mm-hmm.
stopping the car, grab the camera, jump out, and then
Took a
ask him if I could
picture.
just took a picture. Right? It's on my. If you go all the way down to to the very bottom of the Instagram page, you should find it. But
Okay.
there's sort of process of refining and just kind of working is trying to get better every day. This hunger to just kind
Mm-hmm.
of try to get better, try to improve, just research as much information as I could.
Tremendous. Was there any point in time that you felt frustrated that you weren't getting something right, or did you give yourself a lot of grace? What was that like?
All right, so in terms of that frustration, I think it came from other persons, right? So I was in this WhatsApp group, and this was around 2015, 2016. And I'm in the WhatsApp group, and no matter what photo I would share with the guys, they would always have something negative to say. Till it got to the point where I was even afraid to post photos online, right? So that was very frustrating, not being able to please them. And then I was like, but why am I trying to please them and not trying to please myself? I like the photo, the client liked the photo. So why mustn't post the photo? So I ended up just decided I needed to leave the group, and I exited the group, and then I just kind of started posting, and then from there I just blocked out all the negative noise, and then just kind of focusing on kind of what I wanted and what I liked and what my clients want, and then ultimately from there, I got very active, online, and around that same time, that's kind of when my business started to kind of take off at the same time.
And how did you transition from being, I know that you are still working, you're 9 to 5, correct?
Yeah.
So how did you manage both things?
Well, it's very challenging, right? I tell people all the time, like I have two full-time jobs, right? I'm here every day. When I'm not working on some photos or I'm not working um, on shooting, I'm jumping into a class to teach, or I'm jumping out of a class, or I'm running up to campus to do something. So it's a struggle to kind of balance both sides of the equation. But a big thing that I try to do is I like to have a lot of productivity apps, and then I schedule everything in, so I don't like make a mistake to say, oh well, I have a class, but oh, at the same time I have a shoot or something like that. There are sometimes we have a clash every now and again, and I try my best to avoid it at all costs. But I think the biggest struggle is just kind of having balance and kind of finding time for myself.
Tell us a little bit about that part, finding time for yourself, because even though the creativity is for you, you still need to do some self-care to ensure that that creativity is always there, that it remains. You don't get stressed out and worn out. Teaching can be hectic, scheduling clients and all of this coming together. When do you have time for yourself? Because I remember I have messaged you I would have messaged you a couple of times and you were like,
Hmm.
I'm just about to go shoot a wedding or something. So how do you find time for yourself?
Well, I'm hoping that you could tell me, right? Yeah, I really hope that you could tell me. It's very challenging, to be honest. And I would say there's no time, right? But what I try to do is on a Sunday, I try my best not to schedule anything on a Sunday. Or if there
Mm-hmm.
might be a particular day in the week, I say, all right, you know what, this day, I'm not going to schedule anything. So, for example, I've made the decision that this semester or during this period, January to April, I'm not going to schedule anything on a Wednesday, I'm not going to schedule anything on a Sunday. So
Mm-hmm.
anything that needs to get done, it has to be done outside of this time where, such a Monday,
Right.
Tuesday. Yeah, so that's kind of my mindset. And then during those times, when I have that time to myself, I try my best to, just get my family things done. Talk to my family, interact with friends as best as I can, and then just spend some me time, watch a show. Just not do anything super complicated.
Right. I like that. All right. So I have seen some of the photos in your studio, and I've also taken a stroll through your Instagram feed, and your photography is absolutely amazing. I love it. It really brings out the fullness of the moments, right?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Why do you think you got into wedding photography? What was it about weddings that captured you to that extent?
All right, so this is a very interesting story. So actually, I did not intend to become a wedding photographer, right? I always saw myself as being like a landscape photographer. So if you were to like look at my Facebook page, which is a little bit older than my Instagram page, is me. If you go all the way down, it's just like landscape, landscape, landscape. But my son Christian, he's 16 now. He was in like grade 2 or grade 3 at the time. He his school, they had a lot of like performances for to develop like their personal development characters. They'd have like Christmas play and Easter, like whatever, right? They'd always do some stuff. So because I have the camera, I would just go there, take a few photos, and then I would share with the parents. And it just happened that one of the parents, they were getting married, and they were like, "Hey, can you come and shoot my wedding?" And I was like, "Miss, I never shoot a wedding yet, right? I never shoot a wedding yet." And she's like, "Yeah, man, come shoot it, man, come shoot it." So I printed out this list of shots to take at a wedding. I go to the wedding, and then while I'm there, like taking photos, like just checking off as I go along. And then the wedding is finished. I send her the photos, and then I ask her, "Hey, can I post some of these photos on my page?" And she's like, "Yeah, go ahead." I post it, and then somebody else messages me and say, "Hey, can you shoot my wedding too?" I was like, "Hey, I only have one wedding." And she's like, "Yeah, man, really, let's do the same thing like we do at that lady's wedding, and you'll be fine." So that was kind of the setup. And then I just kept posting. People keep asking me. And then I kind of just fell in love with it after that, right? And then I kind of just appreciated kind of, the story and just watching the person's journey on the day. Because as a photographer, um, we're the only ones that actually get to see the bride and groom like individually, and then just kind of see, the journey that they go through on the day, getting ready, during the ceremony when everything to start come together, and then after the ceremony, it's like a very unique perspective. No one else actually sees that perspective. Actually, sometimes I always feel as if they're on the marriage certificate, they should have like a part where the photographer needs to sign to say, yeah, yeah, I saw them get ready and everything, and it's approved, because it's just very unique what we do and kind of what we see on the day.
Right. I love that. What do you think allows you to become, because as I said, I'm looking through your profile now on the computer. I did
Yeah.
look before, but when looking at your photos, it seems as if you become a part of the moment in order to capture it the way that it's happening, right? What do you think that you do differently from maybe somebody else that allows you to do that?
Oh, well, all right. So for me, my mindset on the wedding day, right? When I get there, I always kind of consider myself like a extra groomsman, right? So to speak. So
Mm,
like I feel like if I'm a part of the bridal party. So
mm-hmm.
one of the first things I try to do is learn everybody's name, right? So you'll know the bride and groom's name, but you know the men and the ladies, the other people that are there. So I try to introduce myself, try to remember each person's name. So when I'm referring to them, I don't say, "Hey, you girl with the braid." No, I like, "Hey, Kimberly, can you just come forward?" And that kind of make a little bit of a difference. Just being able to call someone by
Yeah.
their name, and then just kind of be very supportive and just kind of just encouraging, right? So my posture is not like a very tense, yo, I know what I'm doing, but my posture is a very accommodating. All right, let's try this. Let's, what you want to do. You don't feel comfortable doing that, So it's a very easygoing posture that I think kind of makes people feel comfortable, so that when it's time to put them in a pose or whatever, then they can do it. And then a lot of times, what I try to do, and it might look weird when I'm doing it, I try to do the pose that I want them to do. So when they are doing it, it's almost like the mirroring me, right? So I put myself in all kind of weird body positions, right? Even though as a guy
Yeah.
maybe shouldn't be doing that, but if it works, it works, So I just kind of do that. Hmm.
Okay, I think that makes sense. So you become a part of the experience, really.
Yeah, there you go. Hmm.
Nice, nice. And what, so you've been doing this for years
Yeah, so
and
9 years now. Hmm.
9 years, and you've done over 100 weddings, I assume.
Yeah, I'm in the 250 range right now.
Good. And would you say you have a top experience or maybe a three top experiences?
All right. So this is I like this question. I always have a generic answer for this question when people ask me. I'm going to give it a generic answer, and then maybe I'll try to um, make it a little bit specific. So my answer to this is that my top experience or my best experience or my best photo is always the next photo or the next wedding or the next photo shoot. And the reason why I always say that is because if my best experience is behind me, then there's nothing to really look forward to, right? So I always say my best photo is the next photo, right? So, because if my best photo is behind me, then we can just retire. Then we can just say, all right, no more photography. So my best experience is always forward, right? So that's like my standard go-to answer when people ask me. But what I would say is that like a really touching experience that I had was there was this wedding. The rain was falling the entire day, and the the bride was on the brink of crying, and I saw that. And I just kind of went up to her. We prayed a little bit. We spoke. I told her it's going to be all right. The light, even though I didn't really believe it was going to be all right, like night going to come. But I just tried to be positive, right? And at the end of the wedding, right, the lady she blessed me with like this enormous tip. I was like, whoa, like actually get a envelope on my envelope, right? So that was kind of like a really special moment right there.
Now, for somebody who has done this for so long, from the quality of your work, I can tell that you are passionate about what you do. And what would you tell somebody who has a similar passion, maybe for something else or maybe for photography? How would you advise that person?
Okay, all right. So my advice for any young photographer is don't listen to other photographers, right? But yeah, photographers picks a peep. Photographers, they're very like harsh to each other. We're very supportive as well, you know, because there are photographers I can call anytime and say, "Yo, what do you think about this? Tell me this." But for the most part, I would say just kind of block out certain distractions, certain negative voices, and then just kind of work on your craft. And sometimes, yes, it's good to ask for persons for help, but sometimes the experience is better when you try to like research it yourself, and in that way you can kind of develop yourself rather than they say, "Yo, where you touch?" And I say, "Oh, me touch that." But if you actually like do the research to say, "Hey, me touch this," then I think it like better for you. So I think for um, a young photographer, you know, you have to spend time every day trying to get better. Um, Work on just taking 1,000 photos. If you can take 1,000 photos, when you look back at those 1,000 photos, each one of them will kind of show you something about yourself, right? So, and that was something that I did. I went to like this workshop, and the guy said, "Hey, take 1,000 photos." And I remember I have a folder where at day one, day two, day three, where I saved all the different photos in. Now, for somebody that's not a photographer, not trying to be a photographer, but they want to um, push. And what I said is going to be kind of similar. Is practice makes perfect, but also, you, um, you know, give yourself time to make mistakes and learn from your mistakes. And I think if you can learn from your mistakes and you give yourself time and you just kind of put yourself in a position where you can just grow, then I think it will ultimately work out. But if you're not working on your craft, you just say, "Hey, I want to be a script writer," or "Hey, I want to be
Yeah.
a shoe salesman," but then you're not working on it, then it's not going to
Mm-hmm.
work. You have to
Yeah.
work on it. You have to develop it.
Absolutely. I definitely that agree with that one. Over the years, when it comes to going to school and getting your degrees and doing photography, what is the biggest lesson that you've had to learn as it relates to getting educated? And then what are two of the biggest lessons that you've had to learn? Or, yes, what are two of the biggest lessons that you've had to learn in terms of your creativity and photography and working with people, different clients, and everybody have their own temperament and their own personality? What are two of the biggest lessons you learned there, and one of the biggest lessons you had to learn as a student going to school and learning?
All right. So I think a big lesson or a big takeaway in terms of my photography and working with different persons is just kind of
Mm-hmm.
don't make it about me, right? So just kind of try to be humble, kind of step back,
Yeah.
and it kind of try to be. I don't want to sound away, but you kind of try to be a servant. Try you just serve the persons as best as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Try to get it
Yes.
right, and then
Yes.
people will be happy with your work, right? So just be you. Know what you want to do. Don't make nobody else kind of take over the photo shoot and say, "Oh, do this, do that." Like, hey, look, I'm going to take control. This is what we're going to
Mm-hmm.
do. So my mindset is just be a person that be firm, but also just try to serve, right? So just serve, be humble, and I think those are some big things for me that have kind of helped me along the way.
And what about in learning, doing regular schooling?
All
What
right,
was one
so
thing you learned there?
so school, I think the biggest thing is that you have to put in the time. You have to put in the hours, right? My journey, studying at Michael, studying at UTech and at UA, one of the biggest thing that kind of got me through is just putting down the time, just logging the hours. All right, so school finish 3. All right, so let's spend an hour in the library. Let's spend an hour after school under the gazebo, just doing some light reading, just kind of repetition, just getting that daily rep. I think if we kind of put that in the workflow, put that in your routine, then you're good. So then when somebody calls and say, "Hey, you want to go to party? You want to go?" So then you can go because I already spend the time right after school rather than you just after school just kind of kick back like this. I'm like, yeah, man, yeah, man, yeah, man. But, I think that's the best thing to do. Just kind of focus, work on it, and log the time. If you have to spend the time. If you don't spend the time, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah, definitely true. Over the years, I know you said that your parents would always encourage you and tell you that you can do anything you want to do, and that was one of the driving forces behind your determination, you not feeling like a failure, you continuously pushing forward because you had that support system. What is one lesson that you learned from your parents that you've carried throughout your life?
Wow, that's a tough question. There's so many life lessons that I've learned from both my parents, like, individually and, together. But I would
Hmm.
say one of the I think I try to apply in my mindset every day, whether it's at UTech, whether it's at the studio, whether it's at a wedding, is just value people, right? So no matter what I'm doing, I always kind of try to show an interest in that person, that interest in what that person is doing, and then from there, that connection can be made. People feel comfortable. People feel like they can trust you. They can, talk to you about certain issues. Whether it's in the classroom, they have a problem. So just value people, value them time, show them respect. And I think, if you have those things done, people will respect you and people will value you. People will appreciate you.
I love that. I think we've lost that these days. You don't see
Yeah,
that anymore. We treat people like things instead of as if they're
yeah,
valuable,
that's
and that's really, really important. All right. I This question, I don't know why I'm asking you this question. It's completely unrelated to
all right.
to you or to
Mm-hmm.
this entire thing. But I was I was on Bridge 99 FM a few days ago, and I did an interview on there. And immediately after, I was talking to someone, and they were like, Sharika, based on the things that you said on the show, I have so many questions. And he was saying that the show helped him to realize some of the limiting beliefs or some of the beliefs that he has, right? And one of the beliefs that he had, as I said, this is completely unrelated. One of the beliefs that he has is that Black women are insecure. I don't know why I'm asking you this. It came to my mind, so I'm asking. And I'm asking you, what is your perspective on that um,
Well, I think it's a very
belief?
relevant question. As a photographer, I shoot a lot of women. I would say 90% of my clients are women, especially that come to the studio. Right, when you're out
Hmm.
doing a birthday shoot or a wedding or anniversary, like the guys there, but 90% are women. And
Yeah.
a lot of times, persons make a lot of requests to say, "Hey, you can Photoshop my belly. You can make this." So I understand the the thought process where people would say, "Well, yeah, women are insecure," but I don't think it's just women. I think men also are insecure, and I think maybe it has to do with maybe and I don't want to say the Instagram culture or the social media culture, but I just think it have a lot to do with we have all of these photos, we have all of these apps, and then a lot of times we have self perception of what we should look like or how we should look. But then in reality, when we see the photo or we see ourselves in the mirror, we don't actually match up to that. And we kind of feel bad. So we kind of want the photographer to fix that. Or we kind of want to modify ourselves to fit into that mold. But
Hmm.
I would say to persons who are body conscious that it's okay, not to be like okay, but the way we look is just the way we look, and we just have to. If we don't like it, we have to kind of take steps to address it. It might mean dieting. It might mean going to the gym. It might mean starting up a new regime in terms of facial care or whatever. But we need to just work on it, yeah, and not necessarily listen to the external noise. Because sometimes the people that are around us, they can
Mm-hmm.
also like impact us. So we have to kind of guard our gates. So you have an auntie, every time your auntie goes to she say, Lord, I get fatty. Don't got an auntie house a little bit. That's kind of give her some space. So she don't really like in her head. Or you have a friend who just say, boy, oh your face looks so black, you can't, you know, just give me a minute.
Keep
Let me
them
kind of
off,
just,
yeah.
yeah, just kind of guard your gates. Or even if them say it, don't answer them. Change the topic. And I think if we approach it that way, we might find ourselves not feeling so bad. Or what we can do to is just be positive, and it might mean that you just might have to. And I tell people this all the time. Maybe you have to just take off your clothes, just strip naked, look in the mirror, and then they say, "Yo, I love you, I love you," just like that, and just
Oh.
kind of start to feel better about yourself.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. If you, I don't know if you got to that part of my book, but there is actually a day in my book where you're required to take your clothes off and stand in front of the mirror. That's a part
No,
of,
I haven't reached that. Well,
that's
I'm
in
going to be
there.
totally prepared for that one. Yeah, so there is that.
That is actually in there. Take your clothes off. 'Cause that day I think is about self-acceptance,
Yeah.
body image and self-acceptance. And if you have to face, this is what I look like, and accept that. What impact does Christopher Colyard want to make on the world?
What impact I want to make on the world? All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's a very interesting. Well, every question I say is a very interesting question. Now, this question is a very different question from the perspective
Mm-hmm.
of like impact. I think for me, one of the biggest things that I want to do is put myself in a position to leave a legacy behind for my kids. So when my kids grow up, them can say, all right, what? This is my father business and I can work in my father business. Then after I think, all right, I need to type up a resume or anything. So I want to grow my business to a point where it can sustain them. Then after I think, all right, you know what? I forgot look at job, I forgot try work at NCB or try work at Scotia or wherever. Them can just all right, boom, this is what I do. I go up a pops, and so to me, that's the impact I want to leave. More leave something behind that when them ready, them can just go in and it's just a machine at that point. Just well oiled and it just a work, right? Probably they even have to go work every day. Just like, all right, cool, this is what daddy did do, it'll work. So that's kind of what I want.
Okay, I love that. Now, a question, what somebody submitted a question, and I know this question probably might not particularly be your experience, but then you've been living for a while, you've been a teacher, you've
Yeah.
been a lecturer, you would have come across a number of people. And the question was, how do you keep pushing forward without a support system? Are you able to answer that question?
How do you keep pushing forward without a
Without a
support?
support system.
All right. Well, yeah, it's going to be more challenging if you don't have like people in your corner. But I
Hmm.
think the most important person that you need to do anything is
Is
actually
yourself.
yourself, right? So
Yourself,
all
yeah.
the things that you need to achieve what you need to achieve is already here, right? So I
Hmm.
think the best support system is yourself, right? Only you alone can really log the hours and spend the time and work on your craft to develop and to grow. So yes, other person can say, yo, good job, and them say, yo, I'm rate what I do. But at the same time, you are the person doing it. You are the engine. So even if you don't have like a whole heap of persons in your circle, I think you can still push. You can still have that drive. So it just means that you just have to kind of be self motivated. You just have to just be determined to do it.
Hmm. Hmm. I agree with you 100% because I think how I see it, for those of us who have to fight a little harder to get the things that we want to get done, I think our, our our purpose is to get it done to show somebody else that it can be done, despite the fact that you might not have everything that you need and you might not have all the people in the corner that you could have. But get it done to the best of your ability without being too hard on yourself. Because at the end of the day, you want to get something done, but you also want to be able to experience that and enjoy whatever you get done when you get there. And if you're too hard on yourself, you might not be able to do that. So focus on keep the dream alive, focus on that.
Yeah.
And when the challenges come up, deal with them as they come up and let it go and move on.
Yeah, and just
And
to
so
add to sorry, and
go
just to
ahead.
add to what you had said, and I think I mentioned it earlier, you have to just give yourself time, right? If you don't give yourself time to get there,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to always kind of feel stressed and, you're going to feel down. So just have to give yourself time to start a step by step process. Like, um,
Yeah.
things aren't perfect here, right? And, but I know that I'm giving myself time to, like, all right, year one, this is what I'm going to do, year
Mm-hmm.
two. You just have to give
Mm-hmm.
yourself time to get there.
Yeah, definitely. That is really, really important. And it's funny because I had somebody was talking to me about that, and he was like, for years, I have this dream of something that he wanted to do for young people too. And he was like, the vision is so big and so big that I don't know where to begin, right? And I said to him, imagine that you're supposed to impact 100 kids' life or more or less. I don't know, right? And what you were given to do is the step that's going to help to propel them into their future. And if you don't get that thing done, then they're going to have to it's going to take them longer to get to where they need to get to, or some of them might not get there because they didn't have the opportunity that you were supposed to provide. So that's how I look at it. Sometimes that's one way to look at it. And then if you stay at the bottom of the mountain and continue to look up at the top, you'll never get
Yeah.
there, right? You have to start taking steps. And yes, you might fall. Sometimes you might even fall all the way back to the bottom of the mountain, but then you know what it is like to get to where you were before. So you know exactly how to get there. And when you get there, you just keep going. So it's a matter of persistence and just keeping the vision alive.
Yeah, and
No,
just to,
Chris,
let me just
yeah, go ahead.
let me add one point. So
Please
my
go ahead.
first wedding, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did not have a flash, right? And if you know me, people say, oh, Chris love off camera lighting, right? Chris is not a natural. Chris don't love natural light, right?
Okay.
Right. And my first wedding, I knew I did not have a flash, but I went there without the flash, and I just stay within that confine. After that
Mm-hmm.
wedding, I buy a flash, but when I buy the flash, I realize, oh, I never did have an umbrella. So you have to kind of start taking the little steps, right? So if we look at the finish line from over here, it might seem far, but if you just look at that immediate goal, all right, step one, let's get a flash. Step two, let's get an
Yeah.
umbrella. Step three, let's get a light stand, right? Step four, oh, we need
Mm-hmm.
an assistant, So it worked. It took it step by step. I started
Yeah.
doing photography in 2013, but I never opened a physical location until 2020.
7 years later.
Yeah, so there was a journey. There was
Mm-hmm.
little bumps in the road, but you kind of just go along. And even in 2020, there were still like obstacles. I got the keys to this place the 1st of February, and well, in the middle of like setting it up and kind of putting in the equipment and everything, I hear on the news that they have this thing called COVID. It's like, what am I talking about? What name COVID, right? What name COVID, right? But I never let that stop me. You just kind of say, all right, cool, I have this new thing for deal with now. All right, what we need to do next? Oh, we need to do live streaming now. All right, cool. With that. What we need to do live streaming? Oh, we need um, uh, another mic. We need a wireless mic. All right, can we get that? Step by step, step by step. Let's keep it's one step at a time. Right. Sometimes when we look at 10 steps too much, it seems too overwhelming, and then it kind of cripple us. So we actually don't do anything. So you have some people they want to start them business and them spend like 2 weeks. Them spend 1 year I design the logo. No, we don't need to design no logo. Just come start the business. Right? I'm not. I don't even have a logo right now for the business. Right. I just have my name. Right. So when they need just the name, go move on. Right. It's important too. Branding important, but it don't mean that we need to spend the whole time work on it and refine it, and then
Mm-hmm.
you don't even have a
Yeah.
business plan afterwards. Right? You just have a logo. All right.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to that, Chris. When I started going out there with what I was doing,
Yeah.
my first video, I wasn't wearing makeup at all. I was clueless about makeup, to be honest. I had my phone in my hand. I literally held for my first YouTube video.
Yeah.
I literally held my phone with one hand and my script in the other. I was sitting in my sofa, and the lighting was absolutely horrible. So just saying that. So you have to start somewhere, and
You
I,
have to
I think
start
I've come a
somewhere.
long way with the makeup and thing. I'm getting better each day. So start somewhere. You get there. All right. Now you do a lot, and you have a family. You have a full-time job. You have photography. You have to live, right? What do you think, or what do you do to maintain a positive attitude, to maintain a I can do it attitude, to maintain a high vibe so that you can continue to do what you're doing?
All right. I mentioned it earlier. A big thing is just guarding my gates, right? I guarded my gates in terms of certain negative vibes, negative conversations. Just not
Mm-hmm.
really, yeah, just stay far from it,
Tolerate.
right? Yeah, sure, yeah. So
Yeah.
certain little groups, I'm not in the group. Certain negative people, just not in my
Stay away
circle.
from them.
Yeah, just stay
Yeah.
away from it. Or even if it does come up, we just kind of try, change the conversation. All right. So, oh, this,
Mm-hmm.
that. All right. We don't need to talk about that. We'll talk about something different. Or we just walk away. Yeah, we just walk away. Life is too short. Time is too precious to be like dwelling on like negative stuff or dwelling on things that's not going to help you to improve. No, yes,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes criticism, constructive criticism is
Yeah.
important, but sometimes some persons, I don't know. It's like that are their them wake up in the morning like, yeah, who we can take down to them, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I get that. Definitely. Do you have a morning routine?
Yeah, I actually do. So I generally try to wake up. All right, so before, all right, so let me kind of, so before I used to be like a night owl, right? And then I would wake up in the morning feeling like I got hit by a truck. And I realized that maybe that approach wasn't necessarily the best approach. So what I try to do now is I shift my day forward. So instead of staying up late, I wake up early and go to bed early. So when I wake up early, I feel a little bit more refreshed. So, I'll make lunch, I'll bring with me, and drop my kid at school, and then I spend maybe like a hour just kind of working on my physical self, right? So I spend that hour, and then I come in. So I usually will be done with my morning, in terms of breakfast, dropping off the kid by 8:30, 9:30, and then at that point in time, that's when I actually start my day.
Awesome sauce. Before we bring an end to this wonderful conversation, I've been having fun. Have you been having fun?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Brilliant. Yeah.
Okay, great. Great. All right. So before we come to an end, if you could say something to young people, because I know a lot of our young people are making strides to create the life that they want, but there are still a lot of people who could do better, right? They could have a better life. What would you say to those young people who are struggling? They might feel like they don't have support. They might feel like they don't know what the next step is that they could or should take. What would you say to those young people as a young man yourself?
All right. So everything that you need to achieve what you want to achieve is inside of you already, right? All the strength that you need is inside of you. So
Yeah.
yes, it might seem like it's a challenge, and yes, you might not know the first step, but just remember that first step is already inside of you. So all you got to do is
Mm-hmm.
just make that first step. So I would
Right.
say to any young person who wants to do something, is just start.
Just
Just
start.
start. Yeah.
Just start. I love that. That's something I always say myself. Just start, because you start and you learn as you go and you overcome the trials as you go, and it gets
There you go.
better with each step that you make. Lovely, lovely conversation, Chris. I enjoyed myself, and
Yeah,
I have a swell time when I come on here. And I, everything that you said aligns with almost all of the things that I believe myself. So that even makes it a lot better to be here with you. So thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show with me today. I enjoyed it. It was a pleasure. Thank you guys for joining me. I am Sharika Swaby. If you're not following me, and you'd like to hear more conversations like this, I try to be here every Thursday. Sometimes my guests have things come up and they have to cancel. But outside of that, I'm here every Thursday, sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon. So if you want to hear more conversations like this, give me a follow so you can know when that is going to be. And if you want to check out Christopher's photography and you weren't following him before, just looking at those things can bring a little bit of light into your day. I promise you, they are absolutely beautiful. So give Chris
thank
a
you.
follow, give me a follow. You are welcome, and it's 100% truth. Give me a follow and pick up a copy of my book. It's called An Introduction to Freedom. It's available on Amazon. It's available on at Sangster's Bookstore and at C-Mart in Ligani. And I also have them for sale. Chris, would you've gone through some of the book. Would you like to
Yeah,
say a few words?
I actually bought a copy last year. So guys, it's a
Mm-hmm.
very good read. It's very practical. So I think if you pick it up, it goes through step by step on what you need to do to just kind of reset and just give you the energy to go.
Yeah, awesome. That's exactly what it's designed to do. Thank you for that, Chris. So, if you're not following me again, follow me. I'll be here next week having another chat. It's always something to do with personal development, well being, health, something always for your growth and development, and always for mine because I always learn something new and different and a different perspective. So, thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Chris, so much for being here with
Yeah,
me.
thanks for
Again,
having me.
it's a pleasure. I'm Sharika Swebi, and I will see you guys next week. Have a pleasant rest of Thursday, weekend, and Happy New Year.